Hey everybody, I'm live. It's John Hope Bryant. You see here. Can you all see me accurately? Or am I upside down? Let me see. I think I'm upside down, in which case, yeah. Yeah, there we go. So, hey, Victor Hughes. It's John Hope Bryant, CEO of Operation Hope, Bryant Group Ventures, Promise Homes Company. I'm going to do a part 2 of this video I did earlier tonight. This is on cryptocurrency generally and specifically on Bitcoin and to a less degree on blockchain. I read a couple of the comments as I was coming in town, and there seems to be a lot of misinformation about Bitcoin. Hey, Sam Hall. So let me try this again. Okay. Ashley says she's been waiting for information like this. Hey, Cody. And I want to apologize to you guys. When you watch this, it's going to look right. It's going to look cockeyed because I started the video with this piece of technology and the camera was off. So I had to change the orientation. I may actually have to stop this video and do it all over again because it's going to start off looking sideways. Anyway, let me get into this. Hey, JL. Okay. I said some comments that are pretty explosive in the last video, and I stand by them. So let me go deeper because I actually have test run the blockchain and Bitcoin theory since I did the last video, and I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So I said that I described a situation and said that people were crazy, out of their mind, nuts, or whatever it was if they did certain things. I meant it. If you spend your lunch money or your rent money, in the case of an adult, on Bitcoin, you're nuts. It's like gambling. Did I say that investing in Bitcoin was nuts? No, I didn't. In fact, if you have extra money, money you'd spend in Las Vegas, money you spend for gambling, money you spend for a good time out, then if you want to invest in Bitcoin, hey, friends, yeah, the video camera's perfect now, but I had it right side up, so it starts off like cockeyed. If you want to invest in Bitcoin, after you pay all your bills, hey, Jarvis, hey, Vincent, and you've got extra money, knock yourself out. Just understand it's highly speculative. Hey, Rakita. So let me explain to you what I mean. Hey, Tommy, Tommy, where Bitcoin is so inflated, it's sad. Exactly right. It's crashed 4 times since 2009. And for the reasons I'm about to tell you, it crashed at 80% of value. 80% of the value went poof, went away. So if you had $1,000 into it, you had $200 of value. So let me tell you what I did between this video and the last one. I called a friend of mine who owns a prominent Mercedes-Benz dealership. And we'll walk you through this so you understand what I mean by this is speculative. Now, I also said that this reminds me of a Ponzi scheme. Let me be clear. It's not a Ponzi scheme. Bitcoin is not a Ponzi scheme. I'm not saying it's a Ponzi scheme. I'm saying it reminds me of one in many of its attributes because it is based on speculation and the new money is taking out or enriching the old money. There is no asset behind Bitcoin. The cost basis, the value basis of Bitcoin is 0. There is no assets backing it. So the reason it's going up in value is that there's a finite amount of Bitcoin issued, 21 million units authorized, 16 million units issued. About 1 million of those units have been stolen. We don't know where they are. 60% of Bitcoins are not traded. They're not being cashed. We don't know where they are. The value of the Bitcoin is because the media hypes it up and people hype it up and people are buying it because there's limited amounts of Bitcoin. Then because there are more people buying it, the value of the Bitcoin goes up, not because the Bitcoin is becoming more valuable. Did you get that? Let me know if you got that. So it's not like there's gold backing it or the government of Rwanda. It's a bad example. The government of, of the British government, the European Union, the Federal Reserve. By the way, some people say, oh, well, we need a currency that's not backed by government. We've done this before. Do your history. The U.S. has had currencies backed by families, by people, by companies, by cities, by states. It all blew up because you couldn't audit it. There's no way of people making promises, making bets with their mouth that their rear ends couldn't cash. They were making bets with their mouth that their rear ends couldn't cash. And so when people went to go to cash in their debts on Bitcoin, on the currencies of that day, the cryptocurrencies of that day, because they're not auditable, they went bankrupt. And the people holding this basically useless money got robbed. Somebody says, explain that again. That's Marcus. Okay. By the way, Jamie Nielsen says, so cryptocurrency, yes. Bitcoin is another version, he's right, of cryptocurrency. There's nothing wrong with cryptocurrency. There will be cryptocurrency. Please hear me. It'll just be backed. It'll be proper. It'll be auditable. There is no address for Bitcoin. There is no physical address for Bitcoin. There's no physical headquarters for blockchain. If you have a complaint, a problem with it, there's no place to go. It's beyond hiding. It's invisible, right? So you're on your own. When there's fraud, there will be fraud. You're on your own. Most Bitcoin is owned by very wealthy people who bought it at a very low cost basis. They're waiting for other people. Some of them call them suckers, taking them out, and they're taking their money and running with it. But let's assume that you're not a sucker. Let's assume that you're brilliant. Let's assume that you've got a brilliant financial mind. Let's assume you've got extra money to spend. Let's assume for the moment that I'm in Bitcoin. Let me tell you what would happen if I'm in Bitcoin. Let's assume I bought Bitcoin and I bought it for a $1,000 basis. You with me so far? Bought it for $1,000. Okay. And by the way, I need to say this for the record. There will be cryptocurrencies, if I haven't said that. So don't say I'm jamming up Bitcoin or jamming up cryptocurrencies. There's 1,000 cryptocurrencies, by the way, not just Bitcoin. Bitcoin's just the one that's most popular. Hey, Zena, please tell your people at JetBlue, your coworkers, to watch this. This is so important. I don't want people pouring their money into something and then getting heartbroken when it doesn't work out. So, hey, Loretta, this is not a scam. Bitcoin's not a scam. It's just, but you really have to know what you're doing here. Otherwise, you're going to get your heart broken. And my big advice is do not bet your lunch money on Bitcoin. You're going to get heartbroken. Okay, here's the example. I'm going to walk you through this. I bought Bitcoin and got lucky. And I bought it for $1,000. Okay. A month later, 6 months later, hey, Danette, whatever. Somebody just said 70 million of Bitcoin was just stolen from some platform. Mark Perez said, yeah. By the way, all this billions of dollars, whatever, it's funny money. It's like you can't go cash it at a bank. And I'm about to give you an example of this. But it's worth millions. It's worth billions. No, it's not. There's no value. There's no asset underneath it. You can't go cash it at a bank. Let me just give you this one example. Because somebody's going to say, John Bryant, you're not making your case. Let me make the case. 6 months ago, I bought Bitcoin in this example for $1,000. 6 months later, now, the Bitcoin is worth, last week it was worth $10,000. Now it's worth, supposedly, it increased in value. These are people who just want to make money rich, get rich quick with no work. That's called, by the way, speculation in a bubble, by the way, folks. It's greed. So these are folks who just want, I understand it. You want to get rich quick. You want to cut to the end. I get it. It's really perfect for the millennial generation that wants to digitize everything and think that you can just make money on the fly. Last time I checked, work and hard work and hustle is the only way to do it. So in this example, I'm going to play along with you here. I bought it for $1,000. 6 months later, last week it was worth $10,000. Now supposedly it's worth $16,000 to $19,000. By the way, depending on the platform you're looking at, it has different values. Aya says it's $14,000 a day. It's been as high as $16,000. In some place in Europe, it's $19,000. Okay. So she says it's $14,000 a day. So last week it was $10,000. Somehow in a week it added value of $4,000. I don't know any asset that grows like that, but fine. So it's worth $14,000 today. I then go to the Mercedes-Benz dealership and I call the owner of the dealership. Okay. I go to the Mercedes-Benz dealership and I said, I want to buy a $20,000 car. He says, great. I said, I'm going to, hey, O'Neill Lyons. By the way, he's a Bitcoin investor. I say, great. As long as you're not using your rent money, fantastic. Hope you're very successful. So I go to buy this car for $20,000. You with me? You guys are following me? Okay. So I said, I want to pay cash. Great. Fantastic. Nobody really pays me cash anymore. I want to use Bitcoin. Answer, no. His answer was no. I said, aren't you negotiable? No. I'm not taking Bitcoin for a Mercedes-Benz. So I said, of course I knew the answer. Why won't you take my Bitcoin? By the way, a great deal for me. I bought it for $1,000. I spent $1,000 6 months ago. It's worth $14,000 today. Hey, Vincent. And I'm buying a $20,000 asset. Should I be able to use a 1.5 Bitcoin? In this example, 1.25 Bitcoin or whatever, 20,000 worth of Bitcoin, and I should be able to buy this car in this example. He says no. I said, no, wait a minute. This is America now. This is the world. This is commerce. This is capitalism. I got $20,000 worth of Bitcoin. It's a great deal for me. I'm getting 20 times my value. I'm about to get a Mercedes-Benz for free. It's like stealing. Okay. He says no. And here's why. Because when he goes to sleep tonight, and his finance people and all the people he's employing, and all the vendors he's paying, and all the lenders who are lending him money, and all of his leasehold improvements, and all of his inventory is at risk. When he goes to bed at night, he thinks he sold you a car. He gave you value. He gave you that car. He gave you the car keys. He gave you warranty or whatever, worth $20,000, $25,000, whatever you bought it for. He went home, went to sleep. When he woke up the next morning, let's say Bitcoin crashed. Now, you say Bitcoin won't crash. Yes, it has. It has crashed 4 times since 2009, and each time it crashed 80% of its value. So now he sold me a car for, in this example, $20,000, just to make it simple. I gave him $20,000 worth of Bitcoin, but overnight the market crashed of Bitcoin because it's based on speculation, not based on any underlying value, and it crashed, in this example, down to about $4,000. So he can't go cash the Bitcoin for his $20,000 that I gave him. He can only get $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 from it, which means he gave me a free car. Did you get that? All currencies crash, ISS. That's not true. The U.S. currency is backed by the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Before that, it was backed by gold. The euro is backed by the European Union. These are backed currencies. It's just not true. Give me an example. Don't give me generalities. It's just not true. Currencies can crash, but the banks can crash, but it's backed by the FDIC. You know what that is, right? The FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which means you're going to get your money back because the government, the federal government, the largest economy in the world, the U.S., is going to back that bank. Are you with me right now? I told you there were cryptocurrencies before. They just weren't not digital currencies. These were currencies issued by who knows who in the 1800s, 1700s, 1600s, 1500s. Even in America, up until the 1800s, there were currencies issued by families, by companies, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and those currencies exploded, imploded, and ultimately the federal government had to back it up. Gerald says, yes, FDIC backs your money up to $250,000. Is cryptocurrency backed by up to $250,000 or up to anything, $5,000? This is the question. Do you have a guarantee on the money you're putting up that Bitcoin Inc., or which doesn't exist, Blockchain Inc. doesn't exist, or any of the other cryptocurrencies are going to back any of your investment in case it goes sour? So they're going to promise you that it's going to go up, but they're going to back it when it goes down. Answer the question. The answer is no. What's the difference between Bitcoin and cryptocurrency? There is no difference. A Bitcoin is a version of cryptocurrency. Russia and China are challenging the dollar right now by backing their currencies with gold. The U.S. entirely debt-based. With all due respect, the U.S. is the largest economy in the... Come on now. China has more U.S. Treasury bills than anybody in the world because they believe in the U.S. economy. All my Chinese and Russian friends are coming here trying to buy U.S. assets in New York and California because they know that their governments can't be trusted and their economy is going to implode overnight. And the Chinese has more debt than anybody in the world. It's just they don't track it intentionally so that they don't have to report it. I do know what I'm talking about, Aya. Otherwise, I wouldn't open my mouth. Everybody's trying to model the U.S. economy. Have you noticed China and Russia are communist countries? They're using American capitalism because their own systems have failed. They do not work. So somebody says capitalism doesn't work. Well, capitalism is a horrible system. Okay, capitalism is a horrible system like democracy. It's the horrible system except for every other system. So let's get out of the fantasy world and deal with the world that we actually have right now. And by the way, China is manipulating cryptocurrencies and Russia, Bitcoin by backdoor spinning this thing in little spin rooms where they're driving up the price of these currencies and then selling them once they get you and me to buy them and taking that money and putting it in their pocket. No different than they rigged our elections and no different than they are putting fake news out. They're also promoting fake investments and ripping off brands by printing stuff and building stuff that looks just like American stuff, and calling it not iPhone but Biphone, calling it not Nike but Bikey, or calling it, actually making it look just like Nike, and this threatening Nike to sue them. Okay, so please don't talk to me about stuff that you don't know exactly what you're talking about when you come at me, because I do know what I'm talking about. I'm not sure what your point is, and I'm going to stop coming back. If you're just going to argue, you're going to talk to somebody else. You need to come in with some intelligent stuff. There's nothing wrong with something being backed by gold. I'm not sure what your point is. Back to the story of something real. So in this example, the owner of the Mercedes-Benz dealer would not sell me a car with cryptocurrency, or any cryptocurrency, Bitcoin in this example, even though my currency had a value equal to the car. Now, because it has no underlying value is what he said. It could crash overnight. Then I said to him, what if I waited 2 years and the value stabilized not at $20,000 or $18,000 for Bitcoin, but it stabilized for 2 years at $12,000. In other words, $12,000 is what it traded at every year, every month for the next 24 months. And 2 years from now, in the year 2019, in December, it was worth, Bitcoin's worth $12,000. I go and I want to buy the same car. He said no. And his children, by the way, are telling him to go into Bitcoin. He said, that's really easy for you to say. You didn't pay for any of this stuff. You didn't pay for the dealership. You're not paying any of the bills. If this thing goes wrong, business and entrepreneurship is hard enough, he said, than to have another risk on top of me, which is to hope that the currency I'm taking in to buy a car can actually get paid for. He said, I cannot have any risk, zero risk, that when I got to pay for this car, the inventory in cash, U.S. currency, right? I cannot have any risk that I cannot be reimbursed with a profit margin for what I am paying for. So no, he said, there's no way in heck he's taking currency. He told his children, y'all want to go play with that. Y'all knock yourself out. You may make some money, but don't use my money for it. And don't come telling me how to risk my business, which is paying for your education, on some kind of speculative deal. Okay, so in 2 years, I said, would you use cryptocurrency? He says, no. I said, under what conditions? Listen now, under what conditions you're securing a lot of financial futures making this video? Oh, I hope that means yes. I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to protect you from being scammed. By the way, if you still want to go buy cryptocurrencies, go buy cryptocurrencies. Just don't do it with your rent money. I mean, if you're mad at me for telling you not to use your rent money for this, then there's something wrong with you. I'm telling you it's gambling. I'm telling you that it may work. Just don't use your rent money to go do it. So in 2 years, I asked him would he sell a car using Bitcoin? And he said no, absolutely not, because it still at any point can crash because there is no. So here's the really funny thing he said. And I really wish I could tell you who he is, but I don't have permission to give you his name. But he's the owner of a prominent Mercedes-Benz dealership. He said, look, I said, well, people are going to say, well, how's this different from the stock market? He says, look, when I invest in a stock, the company goes sideways, there's a scandal or whatever, but that company still has a cost basis and a value basis based on revenue and assets, and that company's being traded for 3, 5, 10 times their assets, and that's the valuation. And the stock price is based on that, with a little speculation, a little hype of all of us wanting to buy the stock or not. But if that company falls apart, John, I can still go and give my shares for the assets of that company, and I'm going to get at least a percentage of my money back. What is Bitcoin promising me? Zero. Because the cost basis, listen now, the cost basis for, the value basis for Bitcoin is zero. Did you hear that? It's zero. It's zero. Check it out. It's zero. 0 times a million is still zero. 0 times a zillion is still zero. So what's pushing Bitcoin values up is you. When there are 16 million pieces of coin, digital coin, by the way, so don't lose your digital password, otherwise you won't be able to find your money. 16 pieces of digital coin, 1 million of which have been stolen, 60% of which are not being traded. So the real purpose of this currency should be to be trading value. So it should be able that I take this coin and I'm going to go to a vendor and they're going to take that coin. It's all money is, all currencies is a medium for exchanging value. I'm asking you, what's the value of Bitcoin? That's my question that I'm asking you. Don't get you're confusing the purpose of currency with speculation of an investment. People are using Bitcoin to speculate up the value of the Bitcoin so they can cash out based on somebody bought it here. Based on what they're buying it here, they're hoping somebody else buy it here so they can then cash out here and earn the difference. That's speculation, and in a different environment where the new investors are paying out the old investors and there is no basis at all, that's called, beyond scam, is called, what's the term I'm trying to look for? Maybe I shouldn't use the term because I don't want people say that I'm trying to call it, well, I can't think of the name of the term at the moment, but it's a Ponzi scheme. I'm not saying it's a Ponzi scheme, I'm saying it resembles it because it has similar attributes. So when you're making your money based on the hype of something going up and up and up and up and up and up because more people are interested and more people are buying it, that's not real value. That's just people paying frenzy. It's like, why is a Rolls Royce worth $300,000? Because you and I say it's worth $300,000. That's it. Does it have $300 worth of value to it? No, which is why you drive off the lot of a Rolls Royce dealership and you turn back around and drive back in and tell the car back, they'll buy it for 10% less 10 minutes later. Because it's only worth, I don't know, $110,000, I'm making the number up, of parts. Everything else is our perception of what that Rolls Royce in this example is worth. But you know, because there's a transmission, there's a heater, there's wheels, there's some vibe value, some brand value you can go and sell that car for something to get most of your money back. Are you following me? So even the hyped up Rolls Royce, you can get most of your money back because it is a real thing. There's an asset underneath it. Do you follow me? Please tell me you're following me. Cryptocurrency, once it's backed by something real, assets, once the United States government gets behind, the Treasury Department, the Euro, the European Union, the Saudis, once somebody or something backs it and says, we're going to put an asset base underneath it and we're going to promise people they won't get wiped out, then you've got something real. In the between, then you've got something that has a lot of potential and it has value between those who are using it to trade. So you have fair exchange, no robbery. My best friend Rob McGrew's quoted. You have two people willing to trade Bitcoin for use it as a method of currency exchange to trade it for something of value. I've got a cup that I say is worth $5. You say you've got $5 Bitcoin dollars and you want to give me $5 Bitcoin dollars for this cup, and I say it's worth it. And now that's an exchange. You get that? But then for me to turn around, for you to then turn around and take this cup to Starbucks and tell them that they should buy this cup from you for $5, they say, well, what's the basis for that? Well, somebody else paid you 5 Bitcoins for it. They'll say, well, what does that mean? All right. So the value of Bitcoin is speculation. This is speculation, and what goes up can also come down. You go far enough to the North Pole, you end up south. Okay. So I'm not saying it will. I'm saying it has. Did you hear me? It's crashed 4 times. And when it crashed 80%. 80, which means you had $1 in it, you got 20 cents back. So the folks who are bidding this thing up want more people to pile in so that they can cash out at some point and get hopefully real money by trading out of the Bitcoin back into guess what? Now guess what they're trading into. This is deep now. For all you people saying this is the future. They're trading back into U.S. currency. Don't trust me, go check it out. They're not trading in the Russian whatever, they're not trading in the Zimbabwe dollars, no, they want US currency. So the way you get into Bitcoin is with US currency. You use US currency to buy Bitcoin. The way you get out of Bitcoin is you cash out with US currency and you pay a trading fee to get out of it. Did you hear that? Okay. So the guy who owns a Mercedes dealership said he will get into Bitcoin when the risk is 0. Not when the risk is 50%, 30%. He'll get into Bitcoin. He'll accept it for a Mercedes-Benz as a purchase item when he knows that no matter what, it's backed by something solid and he can get his money out because he's not going to put his business at risk. Now, some of you say, well, there are some people accepting Bitcoin. Yes, there are. Nothing material. Okay, I'll give you an example. You go to a coffee shop. They say, we're accepting Bitcoin. Let's say that you buy a $5 coffee. They think it's a great marketing thing for millennials because all you millennials think this is cool. You want to virtual everything. And so they're trying to market to you So they're accepting Bitcoin with Visa, MasterCard, PayPal. It's another method of exchange. But here's what I guarantee you is happening on the balance sheet at the coffee shop. They've got an absolute limit to how much Bitcoin they're going to accept. You don't believe me? Try this. Go there. Let's assume that they have $10,000 a week in sales at that coffee shop. Go there and try to buy $10,000 worth of coffee with Bitcoin and see, even though it says we accept Bitcoin on the door, and watch a yes answer turn into no. Because they have a limit internally on their books of how much Bitcoin they're going to accept, because it is a test. It's a pilot. It's a way to market to millennials and other people to get them in the door, and they figure, what could it hurt me? But no one selling a Mercedes Benz, not a cup of coffee for $5 or $10, not a shirt, you know, that they sell you for $50 that they bought from China for $8, which means it won't hurt them. No one's buying a house with Bitcoin. Nobody's buying a Mercedes Benz or a Toyota with Bitcoin. Nobody's paying for anything big with Bitcoin, because people with had big money are not accepting it because they know they can't get their money back on the backside, and the whole thing could crash. Did you get that? Okay. The whole world runs off belief. Somebody said that. That actually is true, Anthony. Lakeem, that's obvious, my brother. What's obvious? I don't know what the context for your question. Hackers steal $64 million of Bitcoin. That's Asa Waju says that. Okay, I'll take the cup. I can drink coffee out of it every day. It has value, Jarrell. Okay, well, here's the Operational cup. You can buy it on the Operational website. Actually, you can donate. It's not backed, Vincent says. Yeah, that's the whole point. It's not backed by anything other than speculation. I'm not jamming up Bitcoin and all of its attributes or cryptocurrency. I think cryptocurrency is going to be the future. I don't even carry around cash. I had a little cash in my pocket earlier today just for, tips. I use credit cards for everything. That is a form of digitizing currencies on its way. Credit cards, prepaid cards, wire transfers, debit cards, prepaid. I already said that. All that stuff is forms of digitized currency. So it's coming, people. There's no doubt about it. But it's proper. That's the key. It's backed by something. So somebody said, well, what happens if I use my credit card, go to buy that same car, and I default on the credit card? Isn't that the same example, John? No, it's not. Because the dealership was able to get MasterCard, or in this particular case, let's say Wells Fargo or JP Morgan Chase issued a credit card to you on the Visa or MasterCard exchange. By the way, there's an address for Visa. You can go there in San Francisco. There's an address for MasterCard. You can go there in Purchase, New York. Or Discover Finance. You can go there, I think they're in Utah. They're the exchanges for these banks and others who issue you a credit card. So in this example, you pay for a car with a credit card, which I wouldn't suggest, for $20,000 because you have a $30,000 limit. You pay for it, you walk out, you default on your first payment on the credit card. The question is, didn't you also do what you did with cryptocurrency with that dealership, which is that they got nothing? Not true. Because the credit card company has already paid the dealer and used the MasterCard exchange system to pay it. MasterCard has a publicly traded stock, has an asset value, you can find them, and they're SEC regulated. Hello, Bitcoin is not regulated by anybody, and we can't even find the guy who owned it, who created it, and in this particular case, the bank is FDIC insured. So the dealership has already gotten their money. Guess who's coming after you in this example? The bank. The bank is who you owe money to because the bank's already paid the dealership. So they're already clear. The dealership is already off on vacation. They got their money. A month later, you didn't pay the bank. The bank holds your debt tied to the Visa or MasterCard exchange that you transfer the money on is a method of exchange. That's all it is. It's digital currency. Hello. But now you owe the bank, and the bank's going to make sure they get their money. And the bank is FDIC insured. And why should you care about that? Because you have deposit your money in that bank, and you want to make sure that if the bank fails because they lent money to your cousin Boo Boo, who defrauded, in this case, the car dealership and didn't pay him back, all this is connected. So don't be hating on banks because you put your money in the bank then pays you 1% interest, they then rack it up. I'm going to explain banking one of these days. They add an administrative cost plus cost of money to it. They loan it back out to your cousin who wants to buy a car at 8% or whatever it is, and that 3% between the cost of funds and their cost of doing business and what they charged you for is their profit. All right. And when the bank fails because they made too many bad loans, the FDIC steps in, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, which as somebody said in this chain, will insure your money, deposit money up to $250,000. They pay off all of the depositors, every average American. So the last time we had a currency crisis or a banking crisis was in the Great Depression when there was no FDIC insurance. The FDIC was created after the Great Depression in 1929. I know what I'm talking about, people. So the banking system has paid its debts, even though the banks have gone out of business since all this time. Whoever comes after traditional banking will also have to find a way to pay their debts to back what they're saying to you. Otherwise, it will not sustain itself. Are you getting this? Danny says, love the discussion, eye-opening. Loretta, she said, love to explain banking. Okay, I'm going to do a piece just on banking. Hey, Lisa Black, exactly. That just explains banking. I promise you I'll do that in the next few days. Thank you for the clarity, Audra says. Okay, somebody says the Mercedes-Benz gets repossessed. Yeah, by the way, in that example, the Mercedes-Benz does get repossessed, by the way. Eric Nicholson says, not only does the bank come after you for the loan that they gave you through your credit card, but now they have the right to repossess the asset. By the way, where does that asset go back to? The bank. It does not go back to the Mercedes-Benz dealership in this example because they've been paid off already. But if I pay that dealership with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin, if I pay the dealership with Bitcoin, that, by the way, I paid 10 cents of what I'm paying. My cost for the currency is 10 cents of what I'm valuing that currency at in this example with the dealership, if you follow that. So I bought it for $1,000. I'm saying it's worth $10,000. Or, sorry, I bought it for $1,000, 20 times. And I'm saying it's worth $20,000. By the way, not only would I, please listen to me now, not only would I do that deal, the car dealership would do that deal. The owner of the car, please listen to me now. This is so entertaining. The car dealership would get out of the car selling business and get into the flipping business. They would basically take their own assets, go and sell those assets to other car dealerships. Let me make sure I get this right now. No, they would buy cryptocurrency at whatever, $1,000. They would then buy their own assets for a fraction of that dollar amount, pay off the debt 100% in this example, which is to the manufacturer of the cars, if you're following me. Now they own their entire assets of the car dealership for 10 cents of what they should owe, and then they would flip it again. And then they go buying everybody else's cars at every other dealership. This is a Ponzi scheme now. This is a Ponzi scheme. And buy those assets for 10 cents or 5 cents on the dollar and resell that to somebody else because they're buying something for $20,000 that they only paid $1,000 for. Did you get that? That doesn't work anywhere. That's not sustainable. It's loopy. So ultimately, if you go far enough to the North Pole, you end up south. This stuff 2 plus 2 has to equal 4, people. This has to make sense. And the only people who are getting over here are the third of all the owners of cryptocurrency, of Bitcoin owners, which are 1,000 people, like these millionaire twin brothers or whatever who are talking about. By the way, I do business with all kind of people on Wall Street. I've never seen these guys in meetings. These guys who are on TV talking about they're Bitcoin billionaires. I've never seen these guys at any investors conference, at any serious meeting of anybody. No one talks about these guys. They're just like media personalities. I don't know. It's almost like there's a certain developer who became president who says he's a great businessman and calls himself one of the richest men in the world. But the reality is, when you look at his balance sheet, he's worth a fraction of what he says he's worth. And he's filed bankruptcy more than 4 or 5 times, and banks won't lend him money, which is why he provides his brand on loan on a building because he can't get a loan To develop the building, somebody else develops the building. He puts his name on the building and collects a fee because he can't do it himself. So some people would call that successful. I call that a great marketer and great promoter. Some people would call that a failed businessman who's just trying to get over. So you call it what you want. I'm trying to give you the facts. Are you getting this? Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. All right, you guys thought that was funny. All right, I'm about to wrap this up. If people stop buying Bitcoin, the value would go to zero overnight. Mark, it's exactly right. It's exactly right, which means it is a bubble because there's no assets underneath it. It's a bubble. And if you stop buying it overnight, it would all implode. And my fear is it will implode, and that you're going to be in the middle of it. So if you want to go do Bitcoin and make some money, just don't use your, I mean, it's not illegal. It's not, it's not even unethical, right? So if you think this is the beginning of something and you paid your rent, you paid your car note, and you paid your student loans, and you paid your fees for your kids, and you have $500 left or $50 left after that, and that's not going to put your family at risk, and you want to buy some Bitcoin, knock yourself out. Monitor it every day, and when you start to see that this thing is beginning to crater, go get your money and run, assuming that you can get cashed out. Okay, Gervais, can you donate to Operation Hope? Of course you can. You can do it right here in front of you on that button. I'm the first investor, first donor of Operation Hope from 25 years ago, and I continue to back it to this day. 4-star charity navigator, nonprofit organization. 81 cents of every dollar goes to help real people change their lives, and all of our services are free, 100%. No fee. You don't give us any Bitcoin or any other kind of coin. All our services. I have no agenda, by the way, other than just trying to help you. That's it. Somebody talking about my man Boyce Watkins. What's Boyce saying? Boyce has a black crypto group full of information. Okay, cool. Brian Pryor says that. Boyce is a smart guy. I can't endorse what he's doing or not. Why is Dr. Boyce Watkins endorsing Bitcoin so much? I don't know, Jonathan Landry. I may call Boyce to get his view. He's a good guy, and I've done videos with him. Boyce is a little upset with the system, rightly so. He's frustrated with the system, and so he's off on some other thing, and he's trying to create his own platform, and this makes perfect sense as I'm thinking about that, why he would do this. By the way, Bitcoin is not just the only way you can go about this. You can circumvent the system, which is really what this is, in a lot of legitimate ways. A few years ago, the rage was all these funds, GoFundMe and all that kind of stuff. That's a way to circumvent banks and all that kind of stuff. As you found, it's very helpful, it's very useful, but banks are still here. Banks have been here since the 1600s. Traditional finance has been around since Jesus, all right? So I don't really agree that banking as we know it is going away. I think it's going to morph. If anything, these weird currencies have actually imploded, not banking. Don't be mad at banking. Why are you mad at banking? Right? Just go get yours. Dr. King's daddy stood on the board of a bank for 40 years, and the richest black man in Atlanta owned 40% of that bank, Herman Russell. Why don't hate on banks? Okay. And by the way, I'm not in banking. I don't have any assets in. I don't make my money on banking, so don't go on that trip. In fact, we give away banking services at Operation Hope. All right. I hope this has been enjoyable for you. I've talked so much, I am tripping on my own words. I'm only sorry that I didn't get the orientation right. Jamie, I need you to help me on the start of this video because it started sideways. I think this is an important conversation. Have you enjoyed it? Let me know. Gervais says yes. Donice Knight, amen. Gervais, thank you, Gervais. Lisa Black, have a good night. Good night to you too. Thank you for clarifying the Bitcoin frenzy, JLC. Shelly Mills, Richard Wilkinson, have a great evening. Thank you very much. By the way, thank you guys. 45 million plus viewers in 20 months. Hey, Jamie Nelson, help me with the orientation of this video because I screwed it up on the front end. Okay, you guys give me some thumbs up. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. That's my payment for my time. It's just your appreciation that I'm investing in you. I get nothing out of this. Hey, Misty, zip zero. I don't own any Bitcoin. I don't own any bank. I'm not trying to. You're not paying for this video. Compounded interest, Van Sager says is Van, get that name right? Went too fast. Van Silger. Yeah, compounded interest is right. Compounded hustle, if we don't have compounded interest, use compounded hustle. Hustle on top of hustle creates more hustle. Stephanie Jones, I was wondering about Bitcoin. Hope this helped. Aya, love to see this in a panel format. Oh, interesting. Okay, might be interested in that. Myron says, any thoughts on MJ stocks? What's MJ? Write that out for me. What's MJ? Jimmy Trenard, let me see here. A lot of comments here. Shirley Evans. Okay, love you guys. I'm out. Talk to you soon.